you think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me.
No questions?
Why would you think that I would say Floyd?
World that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd. I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
That's the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late.
Bud's been the best man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the best man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fight.
Terence Crawford fired back at Floyd Mayweather's claim that he could beat him. Standing firm, Crawford declared he would defeat Mayweather, even in his prime, reminding everyone that history will remember him as the fighter who never ducked a challenge. He made it clear that no one can accuse him of avoiding opponents because he's always stepped into the ring with whoever dared to face him. Crawford hinted that if a Mayweather fight were ever possible, he wouldn't hesitate for a second.
Going like this, then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career is all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh man, everybody's asking me the question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, but one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. I fought everyone that was available to fight.
Boxing insider Dan Raphael believes Terence Crawford has reached a point in his career where fighting again isn't even necessary to secure his legacy. According to Raphael, Crawford's accomplishments already stand alone, sweeping through divisions, unifying titles, and dismantling elite opponents without ever showing decline. At this stage, Raphael argues, it's no longer about proving himself in the ring, but about protecting his legacy and receiving the full recognition he deserves. Crawford's resume has already surpassed what many thought possible, and chasing extra fights now would add little to his standing. His recent dominance, Raphael notes, is more than enough to cement him among boxing's all-time greats.
What does Crawford do now? Like, what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that ultimate chance if he goes up again? And do you say, what do you do?
I don't quit. Yeah, I mean, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fans. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, yeah. But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavides at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy's really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he can either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. For example, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, fight of the year against Lester Martinez, candidate for fight.
The brutal fashion in which Terence Crawford dismantled Canelo Alvarez has ignited fiery debate among boxing fans. Viewers and analysts quickly drew parallels to Floyd Mayweather's win over Canelo. Yet, while Mayweather's triumph came when Canelo was younger and far less seasoned, Crawford's command over a sharper, matured version of the Mexican star has pushed many to wonder if Crawford deserves to be ranked higher. Still, Luke Thomas reminded everyone that Crawford's path unfolded much later than Floyd's. Mayweather was already a household name at a young age, battling elite opponents from the start. Crawford, however, spent years waiting in the shadows, slowed by weak promotion and little recognition. That's why his peak is arriving now. For Thomas, this means even though Crawford's win over Canelo may seem greater in sheer dominance, it doesn't instantly place him above Floyd in history, because timing and career arcs always shape these comparisons.
class. One guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA, because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford, because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, but cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao, because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the terms in there.
It's almost unreal. Buddy McGirt stood out as one of Crawford's loudest admirers after the Canelo showdown, calling his display nothing short of pure dominance. To McGirt, Crawford controlled the fight from the opening bell, refusing to let Canelo dictate rhythm or bring his trademark pressure. He stressed that Crawford's victory was so decisive a rematch felt pointless, the gap in skill and execution laid bare for all to see. McGirt added that Crawford had finally secured the legacy he chased for years by conquering a fighter of Canelo's stature. His career now holds that defining victory which stamps greatness in the minds of fans and historians alike. For McGirt, there is nothing more to prove. Crawford has carved his story, and his triumph over Canelo cements him forever as a legend of the ring.
Yes.
Like, what fight were they watching?
Right.
I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is. And you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, he's not going to want a rematch. But looking at those gold cards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, he did mention that, he's better than Mayweather. But, I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. I mean, he's fought everybody, he's did everything, but, you know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He lost it to Terence fair and square, and he passed the torch. So, if you're gonna have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. You have nothing. He has nothing to prove. He fought Terence and nobody else would.
When stacking Terence Crawford against Floyd Mayweather, analysts often highlight Floyd's mental game as the hidden edge that kept him ahead. Many argue Crawford is technically brilliant, shifting stances, adjusting mid-fight, and dismantling rivals with uncanny ease. Yet they point out Mayweather carried an extra layer of psychological mastery, making him even more dangerous. Floyd didn't just fight with his fists. He infiltrated minds, forcing rivals into errors and breaking their plans apart. That ability to dictate battles before and during the ring is seen as the crucial separation between them. Crawford's arsenal is undeniable, yet the aura of control and mental warfare Floyd unleashed is what raised him above in the eyes of countless boxing historians. The comparison shows just how close Crawford has come to standing beside Floyd, while also revealing how Floyd's style continues to hold that unmatched mental depth.
Hearns, I've seen Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Like I've seen all of those things, and those fights were wars. Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer I've ever seen. He's the most skilled boxer I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here's why I say that.
RC.
Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights.
Terence Crawford has been showcasing his brilliance for nearly a decade, yet his quiet nature and absence of flash left many in the boxing world overlooking him. Unlike stars who thrive on loud self-promotion and theatrics, Crawford chose to let his fists do the talking inside the ring. That approach earned him respect among purists, but cost him broader recognition during his early years. Only now, after monumental clashes with Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez, is the wider audience starting to acknowledge his talent. Still, critics argue that recognition has arrived too late, as Crawford sits deeper into his career and far nearer its end than its start. Though he may continue stacking achievements, the window to cement a mainstream legacy is narrowing fast, leaving many to wonder how different his story might have been if the spotlight had found him much earlier.
He minted him on what is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s. Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated their era.
Floyd Mayweather has long been criticized for refusing to acknowledge other great fighters. Time and again, he's dismissed the idea that Muhammad Ali, hailed by many as the greatest ever, could rank above him. Now, with Terence Crawford reaching milestones that echo Floyd's own, whispers about his ego have resurfaced. Crawford's emphatic dismantling of Canelo has sparked a storm of debate that threatens to place him in the same historical light as Mayweather. For a man so fiercely protective of his legacy, that is not easy to accept. Observers argue Floyd lives on being viewed as boxing's single, unmatched gold standard. The moment another fighter steps into that space, it strikes at his pride. That trace of envy reveals a truth. Floyd struggles with the thought of anyone celebrated on his level, and it colors the way he reacts publicly to Crawford's sudden ascent.
Par with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter, right now, many people are saying, hey, shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right? Because Floyd has a fight coming up. I do believe it may be in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in a...
Sean Porter sits down with Terence Crawford, asking what drove him to chase challenges so many believed were beyond his reach. Crawford admitted that for years, critics doubted him, insisting he lacked the ability to thrive at the sport's highest level. But instead of retreating from the pressure, he embraced it, searching for every chance to silence their doubts. His triumphs over Spence and Canelo stand not only as milestones in his career, but as deeply personal vindications, closing the door on years of skepticism and disregard.
Not when he wants you to. And you know what I mean? That's how it was.
I know, I'm sorry. I know this is bad production, but we don't need you to turn that phone to the side. I know, I'm thinking about Happy right now. I'm like, he know better. That's better. Go ahead, Ant. Go ahead.
Hey, but you know how, man, me and Sean, we know you personally. I had people telling me, nah, man, this is just a money grab. He just went up there for the money. I said, man, if you know this dude, but you mentally, bro, I put you in the same category as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm like, he wants to be great. Y'all want the money, but I want to be great. Where that come from, man?
It's just me, you know what I mean? Like, I think all the greats is just born with that competitiveness, you know? And like I said, you know, a lot of people, they didn't want me to accomplish the feat over Canelo. It wasn't that it wasn't possible. They didn't want me to be the one to do it because I was the one that they was blackballing for years. I was the one that they said, you know, wasn't gonna make it to this table. I was the one that they said couldn't sell. I was the one that they said, you know, made bad business decisions. So of course they don't want me to be the one to make it to the top end.
Porter highlighted Crawford's relentless drive to confront adversity directly, a reflection of his unique warrior's mindset. Unlike fighters who might have chosen safer paths, Crawford deliberately sought out the toughest opponents, determined to prove he was worthy of standing with the very best. That fearless approach has pushed him into the conversation of all-time greats, securing a legacy defined not only by extraordinary skill, but also by grit, resilience, and unwavering tenacity.
All odds, because now this is a slap in the face to every person that ever wrote a bad article about me, about anything.
Probably the best fit of all.
And a lot of people get mad at me because I said, when it comes from pound for pound that I ever seen it in my lifetime, ever, I got Floyd and I got you. They're like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? I said, this is who I seen. I seen Bud. I seen Floyd. I can't talk about what happened in the 20s and the 40s. I can talk about what I seen now. Do you feel like, Bud, you stamped your legacy and we're going to forever say, well, you could have beat this person, you could beat that person, you feel like you did it?
Of course. It's definitely going to be, it's already written in the history books.
Yeah.
Like, before, everybody was already comparing me and saying things like that, but hold on.
Yeah.
I know. Good job.
Okay. But now, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so now he proven himself with a bigger, stronger guy in his weight division that he was undefeated in, that he was undisputed in, you know? So those things like that, you know, you can't ignore.
Hey man, how do you allow people not to put their limitations on you? Because when I gave motivation last week, I told them about like how you motivated me to start my own company. And come out, I remember you been in in my living in my kitchen, I'm going to start my own company. How do you allow no one else to put their limitations on Terrence Crawford?
That's all for today's video. So stay tuned, and until next time.